Morning. I would like to begin today's meeting by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land in which we are gathered and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. Welcome to the City Planning, Economic Development and Environment Committee meeting of the 12th of February 2025, and I declare the meeting open at 9 a.m. I would like to advise attendees in the room that this meeting is being webcast and audio recorded. Councillor Russell has submitted a leave of absence, and I believe we have a motion on the screen. Do I have a mover for this motion? Councillor Hall. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Murphy. All those in favour? That has been carried unanimously. Also note that Mayor Raven is an apology, and I believe we have everybody else in the room. Confirmation of the previous committee meeting minutes. There is a motion displayed on the screen to confirm the previous minutes. Do I have a mover for that motion? Councillor Jackson, seconded by Deputy Mayor Bannon. All those in favour? That has been carried unanimously. Thank you. Declarations of conflicts of interest. Do any councillors wish to declare a conflict of interest today? No, there being none, I'll move on to general business. Councillors, do we have any general business for the Development Assessment Manager, Mr. Stephen Ball? No. Stephen, do you have anything for us?
Through the Chair, no I don't.
Wonderful. You enjoy the rest of your day. Do we have any GB for the Health, Climate and Conservation Manager, Mr. Brett Espenson? No. There being none. Brett, do you have any for us?
Through the Chair, no I do not.
Wonderful. You have a great day also. And do we have any GB for the Waste and Resource Recovery Manager, Mr. Michael Asnakar? Might be quiet in the GB this morning. Michael, do you have any for us? No? Wonderful. I'll let you get back to your day also. Fantastic. We're moving really fast this morning. We have two reports today, and we'll begin with item 6.1, Temporary Local Planning Instrument number 1/2024 adoption. I note that 6.1 is a public report, and I will now refer to the Economic Development and City Planning Manager, Mr. Dave Radich, to please speak to the report.
Good morning, councillors, and through the Chair. So this report, the recommendations are that we've now received sign-off from the new government, the Minister for Planning, the Deputy Premier, to adopt the new temporary planning instrument. So last year, Council endorsed us to prepare a new temporary planning instrument to replace the current temporary planning instrument that came into effect in October 2023. So over that time, we've heard from councillors and we've heard from the community and we've heard from DA about what things are working and what things don't particularly work. So that report that we prepared back in last year was to refine some of those policies. So current temporary planning instrument was quite restrictive for mums and dads that wanted to do simple things like build extensions, and there were some issues with access for some of those non-residential properties that were experiencing inundation. In addition to that, we've removed the very low risk from the criteria of risk within the temporary planning instrument. So that's, I guess that's a combined learning from us over time, over the 18 months that the temporary planning instrument has been in place. And at that time, and I guess with no policy at that time is perfect, and you learn from it, just like how we amend the planning scheme on a regular basis or do a new planning scheme. We continue to refine, look at case law, look at what other local governments are doing to make sure that temporary planning instrument or just policy in general is fit for purpose. So the Minister's now signed that off, the current temporary planning instrument. What the recommendation is that we revoke the current temporary planning instrument, which has been in place since October 2023, and we've refined some policies that were endorsed last year by Council. So the decision today isn't one of revisiting those policies. The decision is to repeal the current temporary planning instrument and replace it with this better temporary planning instrument, which allows for, I guess, smaller redevelopments of site of people that live in homes, they can add on extra bedrooms in the floodplain, and also reduce those categories of risk across the city. So the recommendation is that now that the minister's signed the temporary planning instrument off, we now replace that the current temporary planning instrument with the new temporary planning instrument. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Dave. I have Councillor Bradley.
Thank you, through the chair. Good morning. I'm just curious, just to relay this to everyday people in the community, what changes will they see?
Through the chair, so the changes are outlined in the report, but in simple terms, it allows for people to do small extensions to houses. It increases the inundation level from, or the isolation level from 24 hours to 36 hours. So that was a change that was made on the floor of council last year, and it just makes it a lot easier for people that are in the floodplain to do smaller developments, not really intensive developments, not adding auxiliary unit or a secondary dwelling, but to make small extensions to their homes if they're a growing family in the floodplain and they've lived there for some time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bradley. I have Councillor St Ledger.
Thank you. First of all, thanks for your time on Monday, Dave, to run through this. I really do appreciate that. So from my understanding, your mum and dads, your grandma, granddads that have lived on these properties for a long time, this is going to open up a whole new scope for them since this flood mapping's been implemented around small extensions, sheds, those sorts of things, so they can continue to be able to do those things and open those restrictions up. So it's going to be better for the residents in the long term.
Through the chair, you're correct. It's better for the residents. It loosens up some of those rules that are in the current TLPI to allow people to live in place and make small extensions and build sheds to their homes.
Thank you, Councillor St Ledger. I have Councillor Wilcox.
Thank you. Thank you for coming and seeing me yesterday. And I did pass on in the discussion that I won't be supporting this today, and I'll be very open and honest about that now, because it doesn't allow everyone, it doesn't allow all mums and dads to build on their blocks that have owned it, and we've flood mapped over their blocks. They've never seen it flood on their blocks, but we flood mapped it in such a way that these residents now can't build on it. So I want to be clear for those residents out there, and quite a few of them have come to see me. I want you to have your say when this opens up in October, November, because 36 hours in my mind isn't enough. It's 36 hours, it's flood mapped over a certain resident's driveway, so she can no longer build on that property. But it doesn't matter, even if she could get out of her property, because the road's still flooded. So for me, I can't support this motion today, and I'm staying consistent in that, because I believe that our policies are confusing and there's an unintended consequence of the 36 hours on individual property owners versus whole streets. Because some property owners are on a street that floods, yet we're telling them that they need to have an easement through 2 or 3 properties with vehicle access so that they can get out. Yet if they can get out of their property and they can get out onto that flood-free street, they still can't get out of that street. There's still 15 other properties in that street that are still flooded in for 3 or 4 days. I believe that putting a legal hat on, for me, I would argue that these policies are ambiguous, they're not clear. My interpretation of a layman's terms are probably different to what council's trying to achieve, especially when you're reading PO20, AO20, where it talks of 4-hour access restrictions. Then when you read PO38 versus AO38 1 and 2, it talks of 36 hours with vehicle access to a road above flood level. It doesn't state if that road is then flooded to the next road, so you can't actually get out. And it also talks about pedestrian access. If I have pedestrian access through these properties, it probably wouldn't be a problem. But again, they'd have pedestrian access to a road where they actually can't get out. You still need a boat to get out, because that's how bad it floods in these areas. So whilst we're saying we've gone from 24 to 36, in my mind, and I think I've always advocated for this, that it probably should be around 72 hours, there are people out there that that get flooded in, they're on island time for 4 or 5 days, they're fine, they manage, so long as we keep them informed with our flood cameras that it's about to flood, and these people know it. They have generators, they're on acreage, they know what they're doing, and I know that it is for medical reasons and that sort of thing, but if there's a medical emergency, we will get to them. Someone will get to them. So I'll be consistent. I'll be voting against the TLPI today. For those people, and it is across the city, there are a number of people across the city that have raised these issues about the 36 hours because they can no longer build on these blocks, and they've owned them for quite some time. Have your say in October, November, so that we can actually put this through and work through it with them. Because at the moment, these people can't get mortgages, they can't build, they can't do anything. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wilcox. I have Deputy Mayor Bannon and Councillor Fraser.
Thank you, through the chair. Voting for this TLPI doesn't mean that I supported the flood mapping. So back in day one, I was probably the most vocal against the flood mapping that was put on us from state legislation. But then in the day that vote's passed, it's called democracy, and I lost on that. The TLPI is what they do is, as you know, as the chair, is give us working backwards, if you like, for lack of a better term, to fix the things that we think are wrong. Not supporting this, in my eyes, undoes the good stuff that we've already done to help residents along the way. It also stops it going to community feedback. Voting on this gets it through. The minister stamped it. We can get community feedback now. And then we do another TLPI and look for things that we can make even better for the residents. So as much as I didn't support the original flood mapping and still don't really like what the state made us do, the fact is I do support this. And I was the one that came to staff and said I don't agree with 24. We tried to get 72, but we know that wouldn't have got through. Right? Not saying that it mightn't get through in the future once we get the community feedback. The amount of good that this has done through the hard work of staff to get these different things that can help families and give them a better chance at what they're doing is just a start. To me, we might do another 3 or 4 of these or whatever it takes to get us the best we can for our residents. So I do support the flood mapping, not the flood mapping, I do support the TLPI. I just don't want the confusion there to think that this is us supporting stuff we voted against, the 4 of us. So I think we're on the way forward and you're doing your best to get better and better results each time we do one of these. And you can see that with every TLPI we've done, it's been better and better for the residents. So I'll be in full support. Thank you, Ms.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Bannon. Councillor Fraser.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm sure this is in the report, but I can't remember the number. So this will improve conditions for residents and their properties. How many approximately would that improve conditions for?
Through the chair, don't have exact numbers, but these policies, for example, Dave spoke about one of the unintended consequences of the current TLPI was having access for sheds. So anyone who's on a residential property looking to build a shed now takes advantage of that. So that the numbers are significant.
Thank you, Councillor Fraser. If there's no further questions, happy to move. Okay, we have a motion on the board. So moved by Deputy Mayor Bannon, seconded by Councillor Hall. All those in favour? That has been passed with the... I might go around the room actually. Councillor Bradley, how do you vote?
Abstain.
Councillor Lane?
For.
Councillor St Ledger?
For.
Councillor Jackson?
For.
Councillor Hall?
For.
Councillor Fraser?
For.
Councillor Jeremiah?
Against.
Deputy Mayor Bannon?
For.
Councillor Wilcox?
Abstain with a reason, please. I'm abstaining due to the fact I still don't agree with the 36-hour as an unintended consequence for residents.
Councillor Murphy?
For.
And I'm also for. So fine. And that has been carried. Thank you, councillors. We'll now move on to item 6.2, Place Plan Update 2024, Completion of City Implementation Fund Projects. I know 6.2 is a public report, and I believe... Yep, okay. I will now refer to the Placemaking and Urban Design Program Leader, Mrs. Ella Duplessis, to please speak to the report.
Thank you, through the chair. So we have a presentation just to provide an update. The purpose of this report is really to provide an update to council, and report is just for noting on the outcomes that has been achieved following the completion of the City Centre Implementation Fund projects. Now, the City of Logan is a network of activity centres, with each of these centres playing an important role in the economic transformation across our city. Now, following the success of the Springwood Summit in 2016, similar large-scale events were hosted across 5 other centres, and each of these engagement events was structured to suit the location where it was hosted. And as you can see, they were quite different concepts across the various centres. Following the engagement events, we've identified priority projects and programs. Council also endorsed key outcomes from these summits for implementation. We developed then place-focused implementation plans, and these plans provide an opportunity for a whole-of-council approach to revitalise our key activity centres. Council allocated budget to implement outcomes from the summits. A total budget of $24 million was allocated to the city centre implementation funds. And over the period of 2017 to 2024, close to $45 million in projects and programs were delivered across these activity centres. Additional funding was attracted from the local infrastructure program, the city beautification program, and additional grant funding that was required for grant funding opportunities. Important to note that from the $24 million that Council has invested in these city centres, we've attracted $49 million in grant funding, including the city deal for the Meadowbrook Logan Lee city deal. This means that for every dollar that Council has invested in these city centres, we've attracted another $2 in grant funding, which is a good investment, return on investment, I would say. We've developed outcomes across the city, and there were a number of things that were common across a number of these centres. Importantly, we've delivered place branding and place identity for each of these centres that reflected the unique identity of each of these centres. That was a key feedback from the community, that they wanted to see how each of these centres are unique in its own right. We've now also included this work into the new planning scheme. We've also delivered urban art projects integrated into the Capital Works program. The delivery of the projects has also reinforced the value of targeted community and stakeholder engagement through the design and the delivery process. It was also important that engagement was customised for each project and each centre to ensure an outcome that has wider community buy-in and support. I'll quickly run through each of the centres to provide a summary through a short video that shows before and afters and some of the outcomes achieved in each of these centres. In Springwood, one of the key outcomes and the priorities the community identified was improved access and walkability for the Springwood Centre. This was delivered through the Dennis Road to Marajong shared pathway along the school that provided a new connection. This linked up with an additional connection from Carroll Avenue to Lorena Crescent, which included the acquisition of a property. And Carroll Park was transformed into a new connection that provided a shared path, repurposed the park so that we can also host small events like the Springwood Rummage in a space like this. Streetscape upgrades along Marajong Road has included permanent build-outs, which demonstrated opportunities for outdoor dining activities, not just during the day, but also during the night time. In Slacks Creek, which formed part of the Springwood Centre initially, we delivered the new Slacks Creek Green Link to provide a new link between Moss Street and Baker Street through the Slacks Creek corridor. This is part of the principal cycle network. It also collaborated to do revegetation of the creek. But importantly, it also facilitated change in land uses along the corridor, where businesses now faced onto the corridor, opened up onto the creek and the link to provide a more safer space and also provided opportunities for integrated art opportunities along the corridor. The Beanley Centre, another principal centre in our city, the community identified as a key priority, introducing more shade, activation and colour into the Beanley Town Square. This was delivered through the Beanley Town Square shade solution which was quite a difficult project to implement to bring shade into an already constructed project. Activation of the space was informed by a wider activation strategy to identify opportunities ongoing to bring more activity into the space. We also introduced creative lighting at night time to facilitate night markets. The Beanie Streetscape upgrades was informed by a streetscape master plan. The streetscapes included repurposing of angled parking to create spaces, wider footpaths, greener areas. Greening of the Beanie Centre was a very big priority for the community. Part of the work introduced integrated art opportunities through the creation of a shared space along John Lane, create safe crossings, and also creative lighting at night time to facilitate nighttime activity opportunities. Logan Village is one of our older centres and one of the few centres situated on the Logan River. One of the key priorities for the community was activation, embellishment and expansion of the Logan Village Green. We developed the Logan Village Green precinct plan in collaboration with the local community and key stakeholders, which really provided a 10-year master plan for delivering outcomes on the green. And there you can see some of the outcomes. The place-to-play playground was designed and delivered in collaboration with the local kids and delivered a destination playground that's visited widely from the wider region. The green upgrades, drainage upgrades created an event space, and through the relocation of the skate park, there's activity for longer periods of time with the introduction of lighting into the space. We also worked with the RSL to relocate the RSL Cenotaph to create a new location where Anzac events and key events can be hosted. Connections was another priority to create linkages between the residential areas of the My Home in the River community and Yarrabulba through the delivery of the Logan Village to Yarrabulba Rail Trail and the Logan Village River Link. The last project we've completed with some local infrastructure planning projects funding was the Heritage Courtyard upgrade and the creation of the RSL gathering space. And that resulted in delivery of the most of the project identified in the Logan Village Green Master Plan, which had a 10-year plan, and most of the projects have now been delivered 5 years after endorsement of that plan. Logan Central was really focused around two key precincts. The first precinct is the Civic and Community Precinct, where we've developed the Logan Civic and Community Precinct Plan to provide a long-term vision for the development of the precinct and identified a pipeline of projects to implement over time. One of the priorities that was realised was providing better access into the Logan Gardens. This was delivered through the Logan Gardens Shared Pathway. This is a road access that provides access to vehicles into the park with additional parking, but provides priority to cyclists and pedestrians over the motor vehicles. Importantly, it also provides wayfinding signage with integrated artwork and creative lighting that make the space much safer during night time because it's widely used at night time. In Croydon Road, we've delivered the Croydon Road Precinct Plan to guide streetscape upgrades. We've engaged with the community through the development of the local business directory to really understand what the business wanted to see in the precinct. We've then tested a few ideas through urban interventions, the Tastes of Croydon and Colours of Croydon, where we trialled closing the street for an event, looked at what kind of activities the community wanted to see, and then also used this opportunity to engage with the community to understand how they want to see the space design. There's a snapshot of the construction of the Croydon Road streetscape upgrade. This project was delivered whilst still keeping all the businesses open, so that was quite a task. And whilst the businesses was impacted during the construction period, collaboration with them ongoing resulted in a good outcome. In the end, we delivered a shared space for Croydon Road, which allows people to walk freely, wider footpaths, more green space and trees, which was a priority for the community, additional seating with integrated urban artwork, The space also now provides a cycle pathway that connects directly with the future Woodridge train station, and hopefully this sets the tone of what we see TMR deliver when they do the upgrade of the Woodridge train station in future. Meadowbrook is our health and wellbeing precinct. Meadowbrook, the key focus was the delivery of the Logan Lee Healthy Street, where we repurposed existing roadway to create space for trees, a shared pathway, shade structures, a new signalised pedestrian crossing to the hospital to really provide a safe place for cyclists and pedestrians. We transformed the area that was basically a space where cars were parking illegally to create a space with a basketball court where the community can use and improve safety. Interestingly, the hospital hosts games there very regularly and it's actively used. We've also translated messages from the community through the Hope Stairs. This was done in collaboration with the local councillor. And this is a great story where through the messages on those stairs, a life has been saved because they read these messages of hope and decided to phone someone rather than jump off the bridge, which is a great story. Jimboomba, we focused on the development of an events and place activation strategy. This was partly funded from grant funding, and in collaboration with the Town Centre Working Group, we worked to design a new signature event in Jimboomba, which was a key priority for the community, and that saw the delivery of the Flame Festival, which is now becoming a permanent fixture on the calendar and really demonstrated how a space can be activated. We trialled a temporary safety crossing through the underpass to look at how can we implement formal changes, and this was implemented by TMR, and the trial informed what was delivered in the end. The Cusack Lane streetscape upgrades looked at repurposing some on-street parking to create a shared pathway, more usable space by creating a more flat space where you can host small events, where the businesses can spill out onto the footpath, have outdoor dining, where community can just leisurely sit and have their coffee on a piece of lawn, and that was informed by collaboration with the local business community and the wider community. We undergrounded overhead power lines, included additional upgraded lighting, created improved seating, installation of big trees, and that provided for a safer space within the Jimboomba Centre. Over the last few years, the delivery of outcomes from the City Centre Summits delivered with a whole-of-council approach has been widely well regarded across, just not internally but also externally, and has been recognised by various peak body groups for, at both the state and national level, for excellence in planning, urban design, community engagement and movement and place achievements. We've taken key learnings from the implementation of these projects and take that approach into our place plan that councillors endorse to develop a placemaking approach for how can we implement placemaking projects across the wider city. Now, we've engaged through the City Centre Summits with the communities proactively, but we had some meaningful lessons that we've learned, and one of them is having meaningful and targeted engagement and collaboration, not just at the start of a project, but ongoing through the project to make sure that we have the successful delivery of project. Ongoing consultation during construction by our place managers and project managers was really important to ensure that we keep the stakeholders informed, but also that we can identify issues early in the process and not wait until they become really big issues. Importantly, catalytic change require council to fund initial works to at least secure some funding from grant funding. A very high proportion of the projects that was delivered from the City Centre implementation funds did attract grant funding, and that was demonstrated by community buying, having shovel-ready projects, having projects supported by precinct strategies, and also having those cost estimates and designs ready that can demonstrate that these projects can be delivered with a defined time frame. Investments also required in making sure we have a high-performing placemaking team and making sure we have suitable resources to oversee the design, community engagement and the delivery of projects. Importantly, our placemaking efforts across our city need to be flexible to suit the specific location. We can't have a cookie-cutter approach that we apply across the city. We need to have a place-focused approach to make sure we celebrate the unique identity of each of our centres. Nighttime economy remains a key challenge across all our centres, and that is something we see that we need to keep working on, not just up to beyond the completion of our projects. For our centres to be good at night time, they first really need to be good during the day. Measuring performance is something, whilst receiving an award does provide recognition of an outcome well delivered, but really we are keen to invest more time into developing baseline data to really make sure we can measure outcomes to really justify the investment in these kind of projects. We've taken on board some lessons and the delivery of these City Centre Implementation Fund projects have informed our placemaking approach for economic transformation across our city. And with the completion of our City Centre Implementation Fund projects, the focus will now shift to the delivery of the Logan Lee Meadowbrook infrastructure projects, the detailed design of the enabling infrastructure for the civic and the community precinct. In conclusion, the delivery of the City Centre's Implementation Fund projects is a demonstration that Council can build on this investment and continue to design and deliver places and spaces across our city that will attract more people to our city to visit, to work, to shop and to enjoy the leisure activities we have across the multiple unique centres. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Elle. That was a great presentation. Interesting to see what we've done the last 8 years, absolutely. Okay, do we have any questions? Okay, we have Councillor Murphy, Councillor Wilcox, Councillor Murphy.
Thank you. Thank you, Ella and team, for the presentation. I know that we've been speaking over the last couple of days just about some tweaking within the Beenleigh Town Squares, and the team have been really good and we've got outcomes happening. I'd love to see more nighttime activity coming. I know it's a difficult thing to do, but we'll still continue to work with that, and thank you for all your help over the last couple of days. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Murphy. I have Councillor Wilcox, then Councillor Lane and Councillor Bradley.
Thanks very much. Do we have data on how the Wi-Fi is going? Obviously, we've implemented into certain areas. Can we get data of how many people are actually using it and stuff like that?
Through the chair, the data should be available. The projects have been handed to various parts in council, so happy to come back to you with where we can get that information.
I think it would be a really good sort of piece of data to know, to see whether or not it's actually useful, whether or not we can implement it across the city a bit more, that sort of thing. And also if we have data on the walkability and connectivity on these pathways and stuff like the Green Link, the one in Logan Village, like how many people are actually utilising all of this now that we've spent all of this money into these projects. And don't get me wrong, they look amazing, but it'd be really good to know just how many people are actually going there and using the facilities since we've spent all this money.
Through the chair, we have investigated options for doing those people counting. Again, that requires investment in the infrastructure, but yes, we've already looked at that because we agree that measuring the usage really justifies the implementation of these projects. Happy to come back with more information.
Thanks. And just one last question, sorry. I've never heard or never realised that Logan Village had a pop-up coffee store, a temporary one. Have we got an operator in there? Because I know that Councillor Bradley would always bring hers back going, have we got operators in there? And I know I've got one in Flagstone that simply doesn't have an operator. Have we got one in Logan Village?
Through the chair at the moment, there's no operator operating in that space.
Thank you, Councillor Wilcox. I have Councillor Lane and Councillor Bradley.
Thanks very much for you, Madam Chair. Well, this is a really great report, and I know that for your team doing the consultation, life wasn't always easy for them. I know that the Logan Gardens one was quite filled with some people that didn't want their lifestyle upset so that other people could access the park, and you guys held your ground and you put forward a project that has worked out beautifully. A lot of people are accessing it. The Croydon Road precinct had its own set of challenges, and I must say the nighttime economy that's occurring there isn't quite the one that I envisioned, but there will be hopefully some way in which your team can get council to actually work with groups to make it affordable for them to activate the night spaces. I know that Ramadan coming up, there was a number of groups that were looking towards activation, and they can't afford KBF, and we've already got proven spaces in the community. I went out and visited Councillor St Ledger's hood and attended an event there. I thought it was absolutely magic. So the work that you have done on these projects have been phenomenal, but what's next?
Through the chair, I'm happy to explore those opportunities and come back with what those opportunities may be. Yeah.
Thank you,
Through the
Councillor.
chair, what's next involves budget.
Okay, I have Councillor Bradley and then Councillor Hall.
Thank you. I want to follow on from what Councillor Wilcox said about the shared pathways. I know definitely in Springwood they're well utilised. I would love those counters like Brisbane City Council have with how many bikes, how many pedestrians, etc. And happy to even look at LIP funding towards that if that helps. It was mentioned in the report, but it wasn't mentioned on the presentation, being Fitzgerald Avenue. And thanks to the park staff for doing an amazing job of that, which was LIP funded and federal funded. Just curious, and this is maybe just a side question, probably not related to this report, I'm not sure, but anyway, the outdoor dining, temporary outdoor dining, is that still going or not going, or what's happening with that?
Through the chair, the Parklet program, I'm assuming you're referring to that, that is still ongoing. We have identified a number of locations where it's implemented at the moment. There's opportunities from the end of March to extend that to new locations. So there's opportunities ongoing for any local business to put an application forward to take that opportunity on board.
Okay. So an application's the only way that can happen from a business, is that correct?
That is correct. On the website, there's an open application. Any business can contact us. We can assist them. It's a very simple process, and that application process is open. There has been some taken up of the opportunity, but we are looking for new businesses to put their hand forward to put up for that opportunity.
Thank you, Councillor Bradley. I have Councillor Hall.
Yeah, just as the area representative of Division 6 in the Meadowbrook area, I'd like to give kudos to yourselves and your team. You've really turned dreams into reality, especially around that Cloverleaf area. I had a mud bowl basically there. Kids would go there and throw mud at each other and throw mud at the cars, and people would use it as an extra car park if they couldn't find a spot near the hospital. And you've turned it into an activated centre. There's not a time that I go past there where I don't see kids playing basketball, having fun, enjoying. You know, it's really given the teenagers in that area a place to go and to let loose and have fun with life. And you know, the way you've gone about it is very professional. I mean, we've had struggles with TMR, we've had struggles with other things. It's a happening area, yet you've managed to get it all done during one of the busiest times, you know, during one of the busiest activating times in Meadowbrook. So kudos to your team. It looks amazing, looks fantastic. I just can't wait to see what you guys do next. I'm happy to fund anything you guys put together because you deliver, really deliver, you know. In terms of a team, you've been one of the teams that consecutively goes through and delivers, and when there's obstacles, you overcome it. And I think it's fantastic. So kudos to you and your team. And I'm really excited to see what you guys do next. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you, Councillor Hall. No further questions? Oh, wait a minute, we've got Councillor Jackson.
Yeah, thank you. No, I don't want to trump that at all. There's no trumping that. The follow-up stuff, so getting resident feedback on their impressions of it. Is there surveys going out? What's the community consultation and the follow-up?
Through the chair, there's ongoing community consultation, so we try to engage with the community ongoing through the next stages when we do future projects.
But on the places that we've just done the builds, is there some sort of report that'll come back in the same way that we did community consultation to get their ideas on how to build them? Are we getting their responses on now they're built?
Through the chair, at this stage, we're not planning specific consultation in that space. Some of the consultation will definitely flow on the implementation through the planning scheme, so there will be opportunities. Some of the work is being implemented through the planning scheme as well.
Thank you, Councillor Jackson. If there's no further questions, we need to table the PowerPoint. Do I have a mover? Councillor Hall. We don't need a seconder. All those in favour? It's been carried unanimously, and there's a motion coming up on the screen. Okay, do I have a mover? Councillor Hall, seconder. Councillor St Ledger, all those in favour? Okay, noting that Deputy Mayor Bannon and Councillor Bradley have left the room. Okay, that's been carried unanimously. All right, thank you for that, Ella. Now, does anyone have any general business for Dave? Dave, do you have any for us?
Through the chair, no, I do not.
Wonderful. You all enjoy the rest of your day. Okay, that concludes the agenda for today. Does anyone have any general business for Director of Growth, Economy and Sustainability, Mr. David Hanson? Oh, Councillor Jackson.
I'll have a go. I've been asking directors through this week about incentives and reward systems within your directorate for encouraging innovation around safety, productivity and efficiency. Finding some really cool things that the organisation is doing to celebrate people, and just want to give you opportunity to share any things that you see within your directorate that are being celebrated, where we're finding better ways to do things. Sorry to put you on the spot for that.
That's fine. Through the chair, thanks for the question. I saw the response that Robert Strachan sent you, I think, on some of those corporate level programs which we make full use of. So VIPs and program leader progressions, and looking for opportunities to increment people through levels on the back of, I guess, doing over and above. So the discretionary effort, I think, is where the innovation lies in this organisation. So we have many examples where we're opening up project opportunities to teams to work on things like Transform Logan initiatives, and they are oversubscribed, I must say, in the sort of energy that's coming into those project spaces. So the other thing that I guess we have always tried to do is put a lot of energy behind our leadership development. So we do make use of the corporate programs, but we also have run for many years our own directorate level leadership development programs. So things like we call them leadership universities, where we have one-on-one coaching for up and coming leaders, and that is often on the back of the things that they have opted into to go over and above their normal jobs, and we open up those opportunities for them. And once again, oversubscribed always, but very much loved across the directorate in what those outcomes look like for especially those emerging leaders. So happy to give more details.
Thank you very much for that. I've been really encouraged this week by these sorts of stories, having not worked within an organisation like this, to hear the culture that's being built for advancement of staff and encouragement and innovation has been really cool. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Jackson. Do you have any GB for us? No? Okay, there being nothing further, I declare the City Planning, Economic Development and Environment Committee meeting of the 12th of February concluded at 9:44, and the City Lifestyle meeting will commence in 10 minutes at 9:54. Thank you, councillors.